Hello and welcome to the Live Life Goldyn Show. This is episode 30. Stop being a people pleaser. I'm so excited about this conversation and I've got lots of notes. I just couldn't stop writing about this. It's such an important topic and it's one that's coming up over and over again in my groups. And, it's been definitely a central attention in my life as far as what am I moving from? What is the energy that I'm moving from? Am I moving from the energy of love and wholeness, or am I moving from the energy of lack and powerlessness? So we're going to break it down. We're going to look at these definitions. We're going to see where in your life you've got some cleanup to do and where you've been moving from energy that doesn't feel good. It feels yucky. I want you to understand that you've got habits. We've got these habits of thought. We've got momentum in our life. Law of attraction works both ways, right? So when we have a lot of momentum going in a certain direction, it takes a little while for things to settle down. It takes a little while for us to learn new things, interrupt patterns, and become more. So be gentle with yourself. This is an expansion and growth process that is never ending. So you're never going to get it done. You're never going to be perfect. Jesus, you're never going to be perfect. We're going to talk about Jesus today, actually. All right, so I looked up obligations, okay, and what the definition of obligation is, and I am starting on the wrong page, so I've got to find the right page. Here we go. Okay, realizing that what an obligation is, right? Like what makes you, I know. Hang on one second. I'm going to come right back because I dropped my first page under my chair, and that's why I can't find it. Coming back, coming at you. Hold on. I will not be derailed and I will not be perfect in this podcast. I'm back. Okay. Because the first page was really important. It's what's going to start our conversation. Here we go. People pleasing and obligations. Living in a life of obligatory responsibilities, feeling like you're obligated to everyone else. And because of that, you come from a lackful perspective and you come to life somewhat resentful, somewhat like put upon, empty, not being able to really live life to the fullest and to your greatest potential. So what the definition of obligation is: an act or course of action to which a person is morally or legally bound, a duty or commitment. Okay, so morally or legally bound. So who says, right? Like who says what is a moral obligation, right? Like I think we grow up in a society and we grow up in these social programmings that say you are morally responsible to your parents. And when you get older, you have to take care of them, right? That's a social programming, am I right? You are morally responsible for your children, right? You got to take care of your kids. You got to deal with any crap they throw at you. And many people take this well into adulthood with their children, and that's why they find themselves very empty and very much put upon and not having these really clean and beautiful relationships with their kids because they're always overcompensating. They're always exchanging too much energy and there's not enough of an exchange. They're giving too much and they're not receiving anything. And as these kids get older, as our kids become adults, there should be more of an even exchange. Of course, we will always be there for them, always love them, always support them. But there comes a time when that relationship becomes more equal. And if you're constantly giving to your adult children, you are disempowering them. You are not allowing them to come into their full manifestational abilities and allowing them to really step into their power. So if you need more on that, read my parenting book, Quantum Speak for Parents, available on Amazon. Okay, so obligations are usually driven by guilt, okay? When we have obligations toward family members and we're doing things solely out of obligation, I have to do this because it's my duty. I have to do this because I'm committed to it. Now listen, I am all about integrity. When I say I'm going to do something, I do something. I am all about integrity. Absolutely. I think integrity is something that's really important. I think it's important for us to be true to our word. But when it comes to obligations and what other people put upon us, that's when I have a little trouble. That's when I have a little trouble. So if you have parents or kids that work from guilt and trying to make you feel guilty if you say no to something to them, then we've got to work on that. We've got to look at that. Like, where does the guilt come from and how can you clean it up? Because I'm going to tell you right now, and I've told you guys this before, guilt is like one of the lowest emotions on the emotional scale, and it serves no purpose. It is a negative emotion that only erodes your joy. It only takes away from who you truly are and doesn't allow you to really speak from your power, your truth, and what you really want. Okay, so I'm going to uncover these social programmings today. They're going to blow your mind a little bit. It's usually driven by guilt. It can promote feelings of being trapped or imprisoned. We all know those feelings. I have to do this because it's being put upon me. It's being asked of me. And I have to say yes because there's a belief that there's nobody else that can do it. And especially a belief that there's nobody that can do it as good as I can do it, right? It's driven, a lot of times it's driven by the want and need and desperation for love and acceptance. Wanting to be loved, wanting to be liked. We say things to people because we want to be accepted. We all have these like traumas and childhood wounds that come from the playground, right? Like our playground wounds, the ones where kids, left us out or friends abandoned us or boyfriends or girlfriends broke up with us. We all have these stories, these backstories that contribute to living a life that is less than, that giving from a place of lack. And we got to work on those. We got to clean them up. I am closing my next group, like within 24 hours, that group is going to be closed. It starts tomorrow. If you really are interested and you really want to be in this healing energy game with me, the time is now. I don't know how many more of these groups I can do because they want to continue. So I don't know how many I can juggle right now. So this is a way for you to open up a pathway to working with me ongoing. So the 6 weeks, it doesn't end on the 6 weeks if you don't want it to. So you would have to contact me like now. And if it's meant to be, it'll be, right? Okay, so the social programming and the other layers of social programming come from this. The fact that we owe someone something, that we owe people something, that we should bypass our well-being for other people. And guess where this comes from? Remember the whole thing about sharing is caring? Yeah, you got to share. You got to share. You got to share from the second, like kindergarten, step into kindergarten, preschool, whatever, brothers and sisters, our siblings. You have to share. Let's really think about this sharing thing. I kind of blew the lid off this in my parenting book because when I really started to think about it, and I made all my kids share. Absolutely, because I didn't know better. But now that I really understand what sharing is and the detriment that the social programming of sharing brings, I'm not such a sharer anymore. Okay, so this is sharing. I need to take something that is precious to me and I need to give it to you and let you play with it. Because I am not as important as you are. My feelings, my wants, my desires are not important as yours are. And that comes from the belief system that being selfish is wrong. Now, I looked up the definition of selfish and I thought it was very interesting. Let me see if I can find it because I buried it in here and now I'm going to this other topic here. So being selfish, okay. Oh, this is so good. The quality or condition of being selfish. There's not even a definition. They don't even define it because it's so ridiculous. And my definition of selfishness would be putting my own well-being above others. Well, that doesn't sound so bad, does it? But we've got this programming. Our parents, our teachers, our pastors, they've all taught us that we need to be selfless. We need to not think about ourselves. And what has happened is we've created a society of people who are out there people pleasing all the time, completely empty, completely resentful, doing things just trying to get approval. I mean, our social media is a really good indication of that. Just everybody wanting approval all the time, wanting to feel relevant, wanting to feel important. And the reason why we have that desire is because we don't have it within. We haven't forged that relationship with ourselves and that belief that we are part of this infinite stream of consciousness, that we are part of an expression of source, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. If we really knew that, if we really knew who we really were, we would never come from lack. We would never come from this energy of desperation to be loved and to be liked. So selfishness it's a trippy one. It really is, because it literally says I should put my own feelings aside and make sure you're happy first. So I should do what's good for you, but not what's good for me. Doesn't that seem whack? That is freaking whack. I have a great story from when I was little, and this is where the sharing thing really uncovered for me, like when I really thought about this, when I got in touch with my childhood. So I had these great cousins. We used to go to my grandmother's house every Sunday, and my one of my favorite cousins gave me a Barbie doll, and I loved Barbies. Like I would play for hours and hours and hours with Barbies. I had a sister who was 4 years younger than me, and so when my cousin gave me this Barbie doll, it was a gymnastics Barbie doll. Like she was amazing. Like she had flexibility that the normal Barbies didn't. And she came with these balance beams and all these different things that she could do, these flips and stuff. And she must have somehow been like electronic to be able to do what she did. And it was like so fantastic and so fabulous. Well, my mom, being in the social programming of what we do as moms in a group of people, of course, especially, was like, you have to share with your sister. Like my sister starts fighting with me. She wants to play with it. And I'm like, no. I'm probably about 10 years old at this point, maybe 9 or maybe 8, something like that. She wants to play with it. And she's like probably 3, maybe 4. She wants to play with it. And my mother's like, you have to share or you're not taking it home. It's not yours if you don't share it. Does that make any freaking sense? So I let my sister play with it. And yeah, of course, she broke it, and she broke it beyond repair. Like it had to be thrown away. I didn't even get to take it home. I didn't even really get to play with it because I was supposed to let my sister play with it first because that's the right thing to do. This is so convoluted, so convoluted. So I was brokenhearted. This is like a trauma for me, right? And it made me angry. It made me angry at my sister. So this thing where we like expect our kids to share and expect them to put somebody else's well-being above them creates little angry souls. It creates people that feel like they are not enough, that they do not matter. And this is how we shut down our voices. And this is how we shut down knowing what's good for us, because we're putting other people's well-being above ours. I mean, even school, when you think about school, sitting there, being quiet, allowing the teacher to talk and teach and not really being able to speak. And if you do speak, you usually get in trouble unless you raise your hand. I mean, conditioning, hello. So sharing sucks. I think I actually have a chapter in my book that says sharing sucks. It has literally taught us to put other people's well-being above our own. Crazy. All right. I'm all over the place here because I skipped ahead, but I had to share that. Okay. So the social programming. Oh, okay. So social programming is we owe someone something. So we owe people service, right? We learn this in our religions. We learn this in the Christian religion and the Catholic religion, that we should always be in service, that we should have a vocation that serves others, right? Jesus taught that. Jesus taught us to share, to serve, to share, to serve. But this is the interesting thing about Jesus that I thought of when I was coming to this. And if you're not into the Bible, that's cool. I actually did quite a few Bible studies in my day. I ran Bible studies. I was super active in my church. So I have a pretty good connection with the Bible and an understanding of the Bible. I've done some like study and meditation on it. So even Jesus took care of himself. Even Jesus took care of himself. And by that, I mean, he went away for 40 days. He went into the wilderness. He went into the desert, whatever it was, and he meditated. He went to the top of the mountain and he meditated. He took that time to forge the relationship between him and God, between him and himself, between him and the expression of all that is. So even Jesus did what was right for him at 12 years old. At 12 years old, instead of being obligated to his parents, he answered his gifts in doing what was right for him and didn't really think about their feelings, didn't think about the way they would feel when he went missing, that they would be nervous and they would be scared. He was like, hey, chill out. I'm living my gifts here, right? That's what he said to them when they found him. And they were like, the feeling of losing your kid and then you want to like hug him and then you want to kill him after, right? Mary and Joseph, where the hell you been? And he's like, I was doing what I'm supposed to do, right? So understand that even Jesus as a child knew that doing what was right for his gifts and his purpose was going to serve more of mankind and more of the bigger picture than being an obligation to his parents to stay with them and to make sure that they were okay. Pretty interesting. Okay, so we have to talk about self-love, of course, because obligation and self-love are somewhat of the opposite, a little bit of the opposite. If you are being really obligatory, if you're living an obligatory life, I'm not a fan. I really do not enjoy doing things out of obligation. However, there are things that we have to do in our life, right? We got to take care of our families. We got to take care of our kids. We got to take care of ourselves. That's the important thing here. Because if you take care of yourself first, you're going to do things from a different energy and then they won't feel like obligations. So it's all about the energy that we bring to stuff. And I'm going to help you clean it up today so that you can come to things from a new energy, those things that you feel like you have to do. And I'm going to help you to ask the questions about these things to find out if you actually do have to do them or you're just putting yourself under an obligation because you don't want to rock the boat or you don't want to upset anybody. Okay, we got to free ourselves from that shit because that's never going to lead you to joy. And I'm going to tell you this right now, when you do things for other people out of obligation and not wanting to feel guilty and all of that stuff, you're focused pretty much on what you don't want. I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want them to get upset. So guess what? You will never be able to do enough for them to appease them, to not feel guilty, to not feel like they're putting upon you. You won't, because the truth is when we do things out of this guilt and out of this obligation, people gobble it up, especially people like that. People that are trying to make you feel guilty, yeah, they're never going to be filled up. You will never be able to do enough to make them happy because this is the thing. Happiness comes from within. And if they're feeling lack and they're feeling like you're not giving enough, that comes from within them. You can't fix that. They have to do the work. And if they never do the work, that's not your problem. That's not your issue. When it comes to people, like really close family members, kids, parents, things like that, you got to look at their journeys and you have to decide whether, even friends, if you got friends that have set their lives up in shitty ways, or, that's part of their expansion and growth. You've got friends that are lonely, divorced, alienated themselves from people, whatever. You've got to connect with, I did not create that. And because I did not create that, I am not going to punish myself for that or put myself out to make them feel better. I'm not going to do it because coming from that energy is so yucky. I went to a birthday party recently, about a month ago, and I totally went out of obligation. I was just feeling like I needed to do this for this person. They were leaving a situation, so I wasn't going to see them anymore, and I was feeling very obligated. Well, it was really crappy birthday party. It was very shitty. And what happened there, I'm not going to share what happened there, but it was something that really turned me off. And it made me question a person's integrity. And so, yeah. So let's not do things out of obligation because a lot of times it's just going to end up being a yucky situation and it's not going to be good for us and probably not going to be good for them either because it could end friendships. Okay, so let's talk about self-love. Okay, ready? Self-love. There's a really long definition in self-love. Of course there is. Self-love is one of my favorite things. It's something that I work very hard on with myself. Not hard, but it's something that I focus on and really focus on in my groups. So we're seeing a lot of this, this unfolding for these particular participants. And, it's a process. So we got to be gentle with ourselves and allow it to unfold. But I am seeing these women step into this and step into their voices in ways that they never have before, which is leading them to a lot more joy. So self-love is a state of appreciation for oneself that grows from actions that support our physical, psychological, and spiritual growth. There's more. Self-love means having a high regard for your own well-being and happiness. Self-love means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well-being to please others. What an amazing definition. I may even just put that in the notes of this because it's such a good, solid, something that we should like read every day and move from. We should move from this energy of self-love. Am I regarding myself? If you were to ask yourself in everything you do, am I putting myself in high regard when you eat, when you exercise, when you do different activities during the day, when you're getting ready, just different things. Am I regarding myself? Am I putting myself in meditation? Am I allowing myself to just be and to be in my own connection with myself? Am I allowing myself to really uncover and come from a place of wholeness because I'm doing the healing work, because I'm allowing these energies to come through me and I'm really connecting with my truth? Self-love is one of those things that it's very easy to access once you decide. But there are things that we have to release and let go of, the social programmings and the trauma energy that's on top of it. So obligations are, let me see if this is the, okay, let me go back to this because this is about sharing because I'm all over the place today. Realize that you don't have to share. You don't have to share. I'm going to give you permission right now. You're not 5 years old. Your parents aren't standing there telling you have to share, hopefully. You do not have to share your time. You do not have to share your time with people that you don't want to share your time with. Maybe you got to go to work and there's people there that you don't necessarily want to be with. But I'm going to help you to connect with different energy on that so that it's going to feel a little different when you do have to do those things that don't feel so good, that you can come from a different energy. You do not have to share your energy. You don't have to. We feel so obligated to share energy with people just because I talked to a lady the other day. It was so good. Very, very dear friend. And she was saying that, she's got this friendship of 15 years and she just doesn't want to let it go, even though it's really not working. It's not working. So she was just like, but there's 15 years there. And it's like, okay, 15 years that there were times that were fun, but maybe it's run its course in that 15 years. Maybe you're hitting these energies now that don't feel good to you because you're expanding and growing in a different direction. Listen, when we raise our vibration, there's going to be people that are not coming with us. They're not ready for it. They don't want to be up there with us. So that's a really, really important thing to understand and look at all of your friendships and just say, is there an exchange of energy? Does this relationship feel really good to me? At least most of the time. Because if it doesn't and it's just sucking you dry and it's making you feel like exhausted and it's draining, then you do not owe this person anything. You don't. And it doesn't matter what their life looks like. They created that. You did not. I say that to myself a lot because, my husband and I are very loving, very giving people. And we have given to a lot of people and we've given to people many times who don't deserve it. However, we see the light in everyone. But because of that, there has been very big imbalances of exchange energy. And we have found ourselves at the end of the day, I don't want to say that we lost because there's always growth and expansion, but feeling like we lost for sure. So you do not have to share your talents and gifts if you do not feel called. So be careful with this because like I said, I'm a giver and I can give a lot. And when you give too much and there's no exchange of energy, you can oftentimes feel empty. And you can oftentimes, and here I'm raising my hand here, guilty as charged, you can give from a place of wanting love, of doing it because it makes you feel good, because it makes you feel loved. And if you're coming from that particular reason, you can get yourself in trouble and you can totally overgive many, many times. Okay, so if you don't feel called, don't do it. Understand when you say no, when you want to, right? When you say no, when somebody asks you a question and you say, no, I don't really want to do that, you are committing an act of self-love. I have a friendship right now. It's probably one of the very first friendships that I've ever had that I've been really clear and very easy to do this. And it's a person who's younger than me, so maybe that's why. But I'm very much in my voice, very much like, no, I don't want to do that. No, don't want to do that. Actually, I'm like that with all of my friends now. I won't do things that I don't feel called to, that are not a hell yes for me. So ask yourself, is this a hell yes for me, or am I really leaning towards no? Now you have to be careful here, and this just came up for me because I have worked with people that have social anxiety, and it can be hard to get out and do things because your mind is going to try to talk you out of it. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is going into your heart and asking your heart what it desires. What do we really want to do? Do we really want to go do this thing? Or does it not feel right now? So it's getting into that heart space. And the best way to do that, you guys know, is through meditation and then quieting the mind and going into the heart and saying, do I really want to do this? There you go. Do I really want to do this? So know that when you say no to people because you don't really want to do something, it is going to work out. It's going to work out for everyone involved, because when you say yes, when you wanted to say no, that's when the energies are going to be all wonky energy. And you're going to create a little bit of chaos, and you're going to show yourself, I shouldn't have gone to that birthday party, right? It didn't turn out well. I wish I wouldn't have gone. Wish I wouldn't have known what I know now. But everything happens for a reason. I believe that. Don't answer people right away. I know we live in a super duper quick society and everybody wants an answer like yesterday and they want an answer now. And for whatever reason, we feel this like massive pressure to answer people right away. If it's a text message, those are easy to not answer right away. Just because you have a text message, just because you have a phone call, just because you have an inbox in your social media, you do not have to answer right away. I think we've got a problem with that. I definitely practice not doing that. If I'm not feeling called to answer it, or if I'm not sure, I'm not going to answer. So oftentimes I'll say, let me meditate on it. That might be too woo-woo for you. Let me think about it. Let me get back to you. I love that one. Let me get back to you. Get in practice of saying, let me get back to you. Because if let me get back to you is something that, you've got right here. You got it right here. I'm giving it to you. Here it is. Let me get back to you. If you've got that programmed in your mind, you will be less likely to just say yes. I had a habit for a little while where I would just say no to my kids all the time. No, I don't want to do that. No. And then I would regret it because I said no. And then after I thought about it, I was like, ooh, I should have said yes. And now I can't say yes because they're begging me. And I never give my kids anything when they beg, because I don't think it's good energy. So, so I had to practice not answering right away and just saying, let me think about it, and then playing out scenarios in my head. So it's really good to not answer people. Also, this just came up. When you're thinking about doing something or you're thinking about inviting someone somewhere, take a little time. Take a little time and meditate on it and see how it feels, and then see what the energy does, because the energy will always tell you the next place to go or if it's a good idea. Because sometimes we jump the gun on ideas and then they don't turn out to be great. Meditate always and see if things are a hell yes. So take your time, slow down your breathing, get in your heart, and ask yourself what you really want. You have to go into your heart to bypass the mind. That's what you have to do. You got to drop into your body. You got to get out of this monkey mind, being driven by the mind's chaoticness and craziness, over analyzing, being logical all the time, and go into the heart. Because sometimes we'll do things and we'll get promptings and desires to do things, and they don't make a shit bit of sense to the mind. Like me moving to California, my mind was like, you want to do what? Why? You've lived here your whole life. Are you kidding me? You don't have a job out there. You don't have any prospects out there. You don't even have any friends out there. Why would you want to move there? Right? That's the mechanism of the mind. And my heart is going, you're going. You're going, sister. You're going. Just keep it real. Just keep meditating, keep visualizing, keep seeing it, keep believing it. Boom. I'm living in California. Okay. Tell your mom to be quiet. Oh, tell your mother to be quiet. That's what I said. So, or whoever that voice is in your head that's trying to invoke guilt. If it's your mother, if it's your grandmother, if it's your teachers, whatever those voices are, or just that, shitty committee in your head, I call it. If that is trying to invoke guilt, listen, guilt is a choice. I know it doesn't feel like a choice. Any emotion is a choice. So it's a choice of focus. So as soon as you start to feel those guilty feelings, if you were to sit down and just be like, I intend to release guilt, and you breathed it out, it would go. And then you just have to interrupt the thoughts that inspire more guilt. And eventually you're not going to feel guilty. There's very few things that I ever feel guilty about now. Seriously. And if I even catch myself, good Lord, we do the work. Huge thing is you don't owe anyone anything. I think I've shared before that my husband and I live our lives very unapologetically. There are circumstances. Like last year, we were asked to take care of my father-in-law. My sister-in-law was taking care of him, and he had Lewy body dementia, and she needed a break. She was the sole caretaker of him. She was feeling really exhausted from it. God bless her. And so she asked us if we would take him for a couple of months. And I couldn't believe it, that it was a hell yes for me. It felt like that's kind of crazy that would be a hell yes for me, because I'm home all the time. So it was definitely going to be a lot on me to do this for my father-in-law. And 2 months is a long time, long time for company, long time. So I knew my heart called me to that, and I would not let my mind talk me out of it, because for whatever reason, I knew it was precious time. I knew that we would never regret it. I knew that my husband needed it to really connect with his dad, and my girls to connect with their grandpa. And I would say, let's see, that was right before COVID hit. So it was like January to almost the end of February. And he died that July. So precious time, precious time with Poppy. So as much as that felt like an obligation, there's an energy that came every day. There was an energy that I was connecting with and focusing on every day. And if you were taking care of elderly parents, or just a loved one that is not in their power, that is maybe sick or has an illness, here's some really good advice. Ask yourself what you're doing it from. Are you doing it from guilt? Are you doing it from obligation? Are you doing it because you don't feel like you have a choice? If you're doing it from those energies, you are probably creating a feeling of imprisonment, and it's probably very sucky. It's probably very sucky. So I would get up every day and really intend to make the most out of it and to have the most fun with him that I could. He was funny. He was a wonderful man. He was so easy to get along with. And I dragged him around a lot because I wanted to get him out as much as he didn't want to get out. He was always better if we just kept him busy and kept his mind busy. So I just came from the energy of making the absolute best of it and understanding that it was precious time. We take our loved ones very much for granted, and the preciousness of life, we take it for granted. I was talking to somebody the other day who had COVID, and she was sharing that, this could be it. She went to the hospital. She was having some breathing issues, and she's like, this could be it. And so, she made amends with someone. And the thing that we don't realize is we really don't know when this is it, and we live our lives like very haphazardly, and like we've got all the time in the world. And I'm not saying that you should live like you're dying, but quite honestly, if you want to live life to the fullest, it's like, don't take life for granted. You sit in these bodies and you put crap in them and you don't move around and you get up really unhealthy. And then, you think that life is going to be good, and it's not. Like, you've got to take your power back. You got to start loving yourself. You've got to realize that self-love goes along very much with taking care of your health. If you don't have your health, a lot of your greatest potentials and joys are going to be hard to grasp. If you're in pain, if you're inflamed, if you're filling your body full of shit, I'm telling you right now, you're not living from self-love. You are eating for your emotions. You're living in a very low, dense, heavy energy, and you got to set yourself free. You got to commit to a practice of taking care of yourself, of taking care of this physical body. Because as much as we don't take the physical body with us, it conducts, baby. Like, it conducts how you're going to age, what you're going to do in your later years. And don't we want to live life to the fullest? Don't we want to live life golden? Come on, come with me. My husband and I are in freaking phenomenal shape right now, and we have worked so hard to get there. But the benefits of that is like a richer, deeper, more beautiful marriage, one where we both feel really good in our skin. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. So releasing the beliefs about selfishness is so important. The qualities or conditions of being selfish. That to me is just hilarious. When we come from the perspective of I need to do for you before I do for me, it doesn't even make sense. Like, I need to please you. Where does that get you? I'm telling you, in the end, you just end up empty. You just end up empty. So we've got to stop living our lives for others, and we've got to take our power back. So, when we stop being so lackful, when we stop looking for love in all the wrong places, when we stop looking for that approval, I want everybody to like me. Here's the truth. When you do what's right for you and you stand in your power, people actually like you more. They like you more because that's what you're giving out. That's the signal that you're giving out. You're giving out the signal, I matter. I freaking matter. And because you're giving out the signal, I freaking matter, guess what? They treat you like you matter. They respect you for that. You give them a really cool example to live their life by. And it's living a life that is not being a victim. Stepping and standing in that power is not being a victim. It's a little bit of victimhood when you live out of obligation. I'm a victim. There's nothing I can do. I have to do these things, right? I have to go to work. I have to feed my kids. I get that one. I totally get that one. So does my husband. These damn kids. I get it. We've been doing it for a long time. But the truth is, we don't do it from this place of obligation. I mean, obviously, as parents, we have all this incredible love for our kids, hopefully. But we don't do it from an obligatory state. We do it from love, right? I mean, there's definitely things that I've done out of obligation for my kids, for sure. But when we do it from love, it has a different feeling. Same thing with taking care of elderly parents or anybody in your life that you're taking care of. You got to ask yourself, can I do this? If I have to do this, can I do it from an energy of love and not an energy of lack? Can I wrap my brain around loving this person every day and seeing them through to the end of their life? Can I allow myself to extend the love that I am, right? Can I do it? Can I? Or am I really putting aside my life for this person? And is that right? Is that right? I knew a woman once who, she was actually a distant family member, and she lived in California and she was loving her life, and her dad owned this company in Connecticut, and he needed a female to run the company, something about diversity or whatever. I can't remember what the details were, but she packed up her whole life. She was so happy here. Packed up her whole life, moved back to Connecticut, and just lived pretty resentfully that she had to do this. And I don't know that it really led her to joy and to really loving her life. I think probably now maybe she's grown past that. And at some point, I think that she kind of stepped out of the whole thing. I don't really know what happened with it, but I just remember thinking, I wonder what would have happened if she said no. I wonder what would have happened. I mean, we don't know, right? I mean, destiny is destiny, and you say yes because it was your destiny. But you've really, especially with these giant decisions of putting your life on hold for someone else, you've really got to ask yourself, A, is there other options? You know, we get so locked into it has to be me. If it's to be, it has to be me, right? Are there other options? Is this really what I want? Okay, because it could be what you want. Yes, I have a duty and a commitment to this person out of the way I feel about them, about the way I love them, right? So it could be a yes. You could put your whole life on hold for someone and not regret that and not feel resentful for it. It just depends on what you do it from. You know, if you do it from the energy of duty and love and commitment, awesome. You know, I do it because I love this person. It's an extension of my love is to say yes about this. If you do it because you feel like you have no choice and you're going to be imprisoned and you're going to be resentful, boo, that sucks. Don't do that. Okay. Okay, so in order to let go of this energy of people pleasing, you got to have a solid meditation practice because that's what's going to help you to tune into your voice. That's what's going to help you to forge that relationship with yourself. Tuning into your own voice is asking yourself, what do I really think about this? What do I really feel about it? Have that relationship with yourself. Your acts of self-love. What are you doing to show yourself that you love you? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you putting good things in your body? What are you saying with everything you're doing? What are you saying? Are you taking care of yourself or are you taking care of everybody else and keeping yourself last? You got to take care of yourself. Trusting in everyone else's universal support. Oh, everybody has universal support. You're not the only one. Everybody has the ability to manifest the perfect scenarios for themselves. Sometimes we get in the way of it because we think that it has to be us. We think that we're the ones that have to do it because they're not strong enough, or we're the ones that have to do it because they don't have anybody else. How many times have you said that? They don't have anybody else. I have to do it. Guess what? They got an army of angels that wants to support them, and you're in the freaking way because you believe they don't have anybody else. Okay. So yeah, everybody has universal support. So when you believe that people don't have universal support and you believe that you're the only one that can help, this is really good between parents and kids too. When you step in and try to fix your kids' problems all the time, you're actually disempowering them. You're not facilitating an ability for them to do shit on their own. And I'm so freaking guilty of this. Like, just, you know, across the board with my babies for sure, because I love them so much, but I am getting better at it. I am getting better at detaching, at allowing them to have their own journeys, allowing them to have their own freaking emotional fields. Like being okay when my kid's depressed, that's been a tough one. Being okay when they're going through some hairy shit, that's tough. I got to just wrap them in angels and protect them and support them and love them, but try not to get my energy too entangled in that situation because it does nobody any good. Then we got mom's worries over here. We got mom to worry about, right? So it's detaching from that, empowering them, saying, you've got the abilities. I really try hard not to like overstep with my kids' problems and just say, okay, let's see what manifests from this. Let's see what you got. That is the most empowering thing you can do. Stop overcompensating. This is something we were guilty of too. Let's say you didn't grow up in a loving home. I did grow up in a loving home. I did. Of course, everybody's got lack in their generational lines for sure. Everybody didn't receive the love that they wanted. If you did, congratulations. I haven't met anybody yet, but we tend to overcompensate for what we didn't receive. And so we tend to overgive to our kids. I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say, oh, I want this for my kids. I want them to have what I didn't have. And the truth is, you are who you are because you didn't have what you had. And you became a very hard worker because of that. And you became very successful because of that. And if you give your kids too much, they won't have that drive. They won't have that desire. I mean, we're seeing it across the board for sure. Practice using your voice. This is a really good one. So practice using your voice with people that you're not so emotionally involved with. Here's an example. My dentist. I love him. He's great. I've had some dental work recently. Not fun. I have to get an implant. I had like a root canal that went bad. And God, the implant process is forever. I've been doing this for like a year. So second time I go in there, second time in a row, I end up waiting for over an hour. So this time in particular, I'm not really used to wearing a mask anymore. So they make you wear a mask in there. So I had a mask on, one that I wasn't used to either. And I have not worn a mask in probably 2 months, believe it or not. I don't do well with masks, by the way. I know I've shared that before, but I've got trauma in my experience and I worked on it. I really did. I had to because I had to wear one to grocery shop and stuff, but I'm not a fan. Not a fan of covering up my mouth. I just do not like it. So what's right for me, right? I'm supposed to do what's right for everybody else, but I'm a completely healthy and wonderful person. Like there's nothing going on here. I got no germs to give to anybody. So I'm sitting in his waiting room for over an hour and I'm hyperventilating. Like my heart is racing. I'm trying to calm myself. I'm breathing deeply. I'm, trying to meditate in the waiting room. And I didn't do what was right for me. What would have been right for me is to go and sit in my car and wait until he was ready. So that probably would have sped up my appointment because what ended up happening is they put me in a room and forgot about me. And I had an appointment. So I'm sitting there. What should I do? And the time's ticking. I meditate a little bit and then I just get up and I'm like, okay, enough is enough. So I go out to the waiting room and I'm like, I know this is a really short appointment and I have to go. So if he could come and just he had to just look at it to see if the thing was all right. So she's like, oh my gosh, they forgot to tell him. So luckily I got up and used my voice, right? So he comes into the room and I shared how I felt about the whole situation. And this is the important part of doing this with people that were not emotionally entangled. I wasn't pissed off. I didn't come from yucky energy. I was just like, hey, look, if I'm gonna be needing to wait an hour, A, maybe they could text me and tell me they're running late. B, I'm gonna go sit in my car, or maybe they could put me in a room so I don't have to sit there smothering myself. Okay, so like being honest about that, not from a triggered state, but more from using my voice, is a great way to just say what you need to say. It's a great way to get used to building that muscle of using your voice. Another example is like going to the hairdressers. If you don't like what the hairdresser's doing, say something. Or when you get a shitty meal, say something, right? Like I remember my husband and we always kind of came from, my dad was a big like send back the meal thing. And I just don't like that energy. But the truth is, if you don't like something, why would you pay for it? A, why would you eat it? B, why would you pay for it? Right? So, my friends, like they always get these shitty coffees and I'm like, and then they'll be in pain because they paid $6 for the coffee they threw away. And I'm like, just ask for a refund. If it's a crappy cup of coffee, let these people know because that's going to help them with the next cup of coffee so they don't do it to somebody else who might actually be angry about it. So practice using your voice with the small stuff and then the big stuff will get a little bit easier. This show might go over an hour today. Good Lord, I have so much to say about it. I think because I've been a people pleaser for a very long time. And in my life experience, being a people pleaser, it was, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that we expand and grow at a level that we need to, that there's destiny involved, that relationships, are created and sometimes they end. And, I believe in the destiny of those things. So I'm not going to say that being a people pleaser was to the detriment of my life. I'm not going to say that. But the truth is that being a people pleaser for so long depleted me to such a level that I did end up in a very severe depression from it. Very severe. And I was in therapy at the time. They actually wanted to medicate me. And luckily I got myself out of it. through my own grace, my husband's grace, and my own spirituality and desire to live my life to the fullest. But if you are, and if you have been living as a people pleaser for a super long time, be gentle with yourself, work on this, but don't drive yourself crazy. Don't beat yourself up about it. It is what it is. And again, when you look at the scope of this, the social programming that has been involved with becoming people pleasers, it's freaking deep. It's deep. So that's why we got to do the trauma work. That's why we got to do the energy release work. So it takes practice. It takes practice to step out of this stuff. All right. So we talked about guilt a little bit. I want to go back into guilt for a second because there were a few things that I didn't say about it. And I want to check and make sure I covered everything. I covered so much so fast that I've impressed myself. Hang on a second. I got a cat here. Do you want to go out? Lulu. I'm obligated to let Lulu out. Hold on. See? She said thank you. That was worth it. All right. So let's talk about guilt really quick. Guilt is the lowest vibration on the vibrational scale next to depression. It's rooted in misery, and it never leads to a feeling of wholeness or love. So when you do things out of guilt, you will never, it's like you're doing it out of guilt to get a certain reaction, or you're doing it out of guilt to check something off your list, or to connect with an obligation, right? Like, I did this for my mom, so now she's going to be happy. Not so much. Not so much. Because if your mom is making you feel guilty all the time, or your dad is making you feel guilty all the time, or your husband's making you feel guilty all the time, the truth is there is an energetic exchange there that is very unhealthy. It's very unhealthy. It is reaped in an energy exchange that is way off balance. So this person, your mother, your father, your husband, your brother, your sister, is very much in the energy of not getting enough from people. Enough because they haven't done the inner work. So they don't have the self-love. So they're looking to get it from other people, and they're doing it in the energies of guilt to make people do what they want them to do. Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I work so hard not to make my kids feel guilty for shit. It doesn't always work, but I do work hard at that. So because we come from the lack, what we will do will never be enough. So we're just doing it to try to quiet them down. We're just doing it to make them feel better. And because of that, it will never, ever amount to two people coming together in a healthy, loving, whole, balanced relationship. It will always have lack involved in it. Here's a good one. Ready? Guilt acts as a barrier to our boundaries and our own well-being. Ooh. So if you're acting out of guilt, you got no boundaries. Yeah. Boundaries are a really, really important way of showing yourself self-love. Boundaries are super duper important, because when you're constantly putting too much out and you're emptying yourself, you're gonna come to a place and a point in your life where you can't continue. And that's where I got with my situation. I got to a point where I could not continue giving anymore, because my giving was not doing anything. It was like this constant, like, being asked upon, being put out, being expected, just like never ending. Can you do this for this person? And can you do this for this person? And can you ignore your integrity for that? Just like too much of that shit, too much. So it sacrifices our ability to love ourselves, because we are looking for love outside of ourselves. We are sacrificing our ability to feel love for ourselves, because that person is never going to give us the love that we're lacking, because we're not in the frequency of it. Think about it. We're not on that radio station. We are tuned into lack. We're tuned into guilt. So everything that comes is going to have that energy around it and will never give us a feeling of wholeness or fullness or fulfillment. It connects with feelings of desperate energy and a feeling that we are not enough. This is a huge one. The energy of not feeling like we matter and the energy of not being enough is something that comes from past trauma, past childhood. I mean, what are we taught in religion? That we're born sin. What? That we are literally born sin, that we are born no good people. And for the rest of our life, we have to prove that we're goodness, right? What? Good Lord. Maybe you're not religious. Do you have an addiction to this feeling? So we do this work in my group, and it's finding out whether we've got an addiction to an emotion because we get chemicals and hormonal downloads from that emotion. It's a habit, right? So a habit, we become addicted to a habit, just like substances or foods or different things like that. We get addicted to it, different activities. So we've got to find out, is this an addiction or something that I need to release? Is it something that I need to heal? And you can find that out through basically going within and asking those questions. Do I have an addiction to this emotion? Do I feel this emotion a lot? Do I like feeling guilty because it allows me to not heal? Because it allows me to feel like I'm doing so many good things for so many people? What do you serve from? Service is a beautiful thing, and I love serving. I really do. I love giving. This podcast is giving. Like, I don't get paid for this shit. Eventually, maybe, yeah, hopefully, right? But I mean, this is part of my passion and my joy. And, I pay money to produce this thing, and this is my service. But I don't do it out of obligation. It was funny because my best friend had posted about, you're not obligated to do the show, but she had asked me if I could do a subject on this. And it was funny, I'd already planned on it because it was what was coming up. Like, usually my podcasts are like what's coming up that week, or if someone emails me, I will talk about it. So I thought it was really interesting that she's like, you're not obligated. And I was like, oh, there's none of that. There's no feeling of obligation for doing this podcast. It's so like, there's so much information coming out of me. It's almost like I can't not do it. It's like, so it's a duty and an honor. So that's the difference, right? That's the energy. It's my duty. It's my duty. It's my purpose. It's my fulfillment. It's my honor to do this. So it's different. What energy do I come from when I say yes? What am I moving from? What is the energy? Look at your relationships and ask yourself, what am I moving from with this person? Am I moving from obligation? Am I moving from I feel sorry for them? Ugh, hate those friendships. Am I moving because I feel sorry for them because their life is yuck, yuck, and yuck? Well, who did that? You didn't do that. Hell no, you did not do that. So what energy am I coming from when I say yes? And what energy am I coming from in this relationship that I'm showing up for? You know what else I have to touch on about excuses? This is so crazy. Like, probably like within the last year, and this goes along with living your life unapologetically. Like, I'll say no about something, or if I have to cancel or something, or like if somebody, oh my gosh, if I get like these inbox messages on Facebook, like, hey, could you share this post for me and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what do I say? Right? Why do we need excuses? How about I'm just not going to be able to? Why do we need to come up with these like grand excuses, which most of the time are lies, right? Why do we need excuses? I just can't. I just don't want to. I don't know. Why do I always have a Southern accent? I don't know. I'm not even from the South. Okay. How to stop being a people pleaser. You ready? Realize you don't owe anyone anything. Boom. You don't owe anyone anything. And stop trying to get love in all the wrong places. Get love from yourself. Get love from your acts of kindness to yourself. Because when you're full and you're whole and you're coming to the table full of this love for yourself and this joy for life, you'll bubble over, baby. And you'll want to give and you'll want to love and you'll want to do, but you'll do it from a different energy. You'll do it from the energy of wholeness. You'll do it from the energy of like an overflow of self-love and an overflow of knowing who you are. And then your relationships take on a whole new meaning. They take on a whole new picture because you're no longer depleting yourself. You no longer need to deplete yourself to make other people happy. Yeah, happiness is an inside job. So stop, putting other people's happiness on your plate. Your plate is full enough. You got to work on your own shit. Because if you're trying to work on everybody else's stuff, there's not enough room on the plate. There's stuff falling off the plate and you're overwhelmed and you're exhausted and you don't have energy for the stuff that's really going to make you feel great. I've been taking a lot of baths lately. I like my baths. Yeah. I never did either because I would sit. This is funny. This is interesting, actually. Before I started doing this group coaching stuff, which has become wonderfully lucrative for me, I wasn't really, I'm not going to say I wasn't doing anything with my life because clearly I have purpose. I take care of my family. I take care of my home. I take care of myself, take care of my own body. But there was this feeling of I want to produce income. I want to be a team player in my situation. My girls are all older now. My little one just graduated high school. They really don't need me that much. Once she started driving, it was like I wasn't needed for me to be like available all the time. So it came to the point where, when I would do stuff like that, like take a bath or buy myself something pretty, I would have that energy of guilt and I would have that energy of like, I got to do something. I got to do something with my life before I can actually like take care of myself. And that's just bonkers. And so now that I have this going on, I am working on the balance of that self-love and working on the balance of having just a balanced life where I'm not like working all the time, but I offer a lot to people, a shit ton. Yeah. When you do energy work, this is not bragging at all. It's a shit ton of energy. Like it's a shit ton that you do for people and in being in their traumas with them and helping them to release this energy. It can be very, I'm not going to say exhaustive, but it can be very challenging to be grounded and be very challenging to live a life that is balanced because you can really kind of get into people's fields and you really got to have strong boundaries. So taking a bath is part of that. It's part of me releasing even more energy. When you take a bath with Epsom salts, it actually releases toxins, not just toxins, but energy. So it's really good for your overall well-being. I have a great therapeutic Epsom salt that I use with lavender that I just adore. And as I'm speaking about this, I'm thinking like, when can I take a bath today? Because I'm really talking myself into it. So like once or twice a week, I take a bath. My husband does too. So it's like, we're working really hard on our bodies. What can we do to promote healing? Do you ever ask yourself that? Shit, I'm over an hour. This is a long show. I knew it was going to be. Do you ever ask yourself that? Like, how can I promote my own healing? How can I promote my wellness? How can I keep myself really healthy? Okay, do you ever do this? Do you ever just take a mental health day? Yeah, we should be doing that. Because we don't take a mental health day, oftentimes we end up sick because our bodies are so exhausted and we're so out of imbalance with wellness. So your body has to get sick in order to bring itself back into a natural state of well-being. So why don't we do that before we get sick? Why don't we take a mental health day? Why don't we just take a day where we don't have anything to do and we can just chill? Like we've grown up in this society that says like we've got to work this 40 to 80 hour work week and got to be successful. And there's all these pressures. And it's like we're not honoring who we are or our ability to create abundance through well-being. Hello. Yeah. When you've got time to enjoy life and it's not just like this blip of a weekend and you make decisions for your well-being. Yeah. People will respect that. Maybe not your boss. I don't know, but it depends on how you feel about it. Because if you feel strongly about it, your boss will respect it. And you start being the boss of yourself. You got to be the boss of yourself. All right. I think that's good. I think that was our show for today. That super long show that had a lot of information in it. You might need to listen to this one twice. Stop feeling obligated and start loving yourself enough to say no. Start loving yourself enough to say, I'm not going to be able to do that. No excuses necessary. Can we let each other off the hook? Do we have to have a reason? Like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. I got to think about that one. So that is my show for today. I love you all. You can connect with me at www.livelifegolden.com. I've got a meditation teaching on there you can purchase if you want to learn to meditate, if you want to take your meditation deeper, your practice deeper. I've got Quantum Speak. That is how to live the life of your dreams. It's our story from moving from Connecticut to California and the manifestation process involved in that. Quantum Speak for Parents is awesome for parenting. It's basically my 28-year journey of parenting and how I've kind of figured out how to energetically exchange with my kids in a healthier way so that we have this beautiful, loving home and these beautiful, loving relationships that don't drain the hell out of us. And I got a new group starting tomorrow. Woohoo! October 12th. I'm super excited. And then I will let you know when the next one's going to launch. I also have, my M21 Challenge Group is coming back. I'm so excited. So M21 Revolution is a group on Facebook. It is a private group on Facebook. Actually, no, I think it might be public now. Not sure about that. No, because you need an invitation. So it is a private group. So you can ask to join, and we are launching a challenge. I believe the beginning of November, we're going to be launching some sort of like energy of peace around the holidays and this beautiful world we live in to connect with peace, to tune your frequency to peace and well-being so that your holiday season is amazing, so that you can set intentions for it, so that you can set intentions for your life and start feeling and tuning into what's good for you and what will activate energies of peace. So that is there. That is a free group. However, we ask for a donation when we run these challenges. The challenges are usually 21 days. I'm not sure about this one yet. We haven't firmed up the details, but I'm excited to connect with that community because the community is beautiful and there's lots of spiritual, expanding, growing people in there. So that'll be amazing. So that's another way for you to connect with me. I do posts every day. My partner, Jess, who is a yogi, she's a triathlete. She's amazing. She also does videos on different yogic philosophies. We come together, we do videos together, and we just share the info to make life better. All right. I love you guys. Peace.